What would you do if you saw a defenseless woman being publicly shamed, only to realize later that your small act of compassion would transform your entire life? Today's story will tug at your heart, mend it piece by piece, and leave you believing in love once more. But before we dive in, make sure to like this video and subscribe to Love Real, because you won't want to miss any of the stories that prove kindness is still alive in this world. Ethan Hayes hadn't woken up expecting drama that morning. He just wanted a cup of coffee and a quiet corner where he could sift through emails while his 7-year-old daughter, Lily, happily filled her sketchbook with colorful doodles. The cafe was warm and comforting, scented with cinnamon sugar and freshly baked pastries. It was their usual Saturday routine, a brief sanctuary for a single dad who had spent the last 3 years piecing his life back together after losing his wife. But peaceful moments have a habit of ending too soon. Across the room, a disturbance broke out near the counter. Ethan's eyes lifted instinctively, his brows knitting together. A woman stood there, frail, pale, with weary eyes that looked like they carried years of exhaustion, clutching a tray of coffee as if it were her last anchor. The barista jabbed a finger toward her, his tone sharp and growing louder. "I told you. You can't stay here without buying something else," he snapped. I just needed somewhere warm," she whispered, her voice shaky. "I did buy the coffee, I promise." "Don't start arguing with me," the barista barked, signaling to the cafe manager. "People like you come in here, linger around, and scare off customers. People like you." The words punched Ethan in the gut. The woman's face burned with humiliation as a large cafe worker rounded the counter, seized her by the arm, and started pulling her toward the exit. Lily's tiny fingers tightened around Ethan's sleeve. "Daddy, why are they hurting her?" That was all it took. Ethan didn't think. He didn't strategize. His body simply moved. His chair scraped loudly as he stood, and when he spoke, his voice sliced through the room, calm, steady, and dangerously firm. "Touch her again," he said, each word heavy and cold, "and you'll regret it." The entire cafe froze. The employee halted mid-step, still gripping the woman's arm. Eyes turned toward Ethan, the tall, broad-shouldered father whose gaze could have cracked stone. The woman stared at him, stunned. She didn't know this man. She didn't understand why he was intervening. But Ethan recognized the look she wore. He knew what it felt like to be crushed, to be mistreated when no one bothered to step in. He moved closer. Lily still holding on to the edge of his coat. "She's with me," he said, his voice unwavering. "She's my wife." The cafe collectively gasped. The manager froze mid-breath. The woman's mouth fell open in disbelief. But Ethan gave her the smallest, most reassuring nod, a silent message. Just go with it. He was bluffing. And somehow she seemed to understand. For the first time, her knees didn't look like they were about to give out. The employee hesitated, then slowly released her arm. "Your wife?"
he repeated. "Yes," Ethan replied, his jaw locked, his expression unyielding.
"Now, unless you'd like a lawsuit for manhandling a paying customer, I'd suggest you step away." The cafe manager's face drained of color. The employee mumbled an apology, retreating behind the counter. Ethan slid an arm protectively around the woman's shoulders and guided her to his table. She was trembling. "Thank you," she whispered, tears brimming in her eyes. Ethan pulled out a chair for her. "Sit, drink your coffee. Nobody's kicking you out now." Lily smiled at her, sliding her coloring book across the table. "You can color with me if you want." First time, the woman who later introduced herself as Mia smiled. But Ethan noticed her hands. They were raw red from the cold. Her coat was thin, and her shoes were worn down. She wasn't just tired. She was surviving. They sat there for hours. Ethan didn't push her to talk, but eventually she opened up. She had lost her job 3 months ago. She'd been evicted shortly after. Every day was a fight just to stay warm and fed. Ethan's chest ached. When Mia finally stood to leave, thanking him with quiet dignity, Lily tugged on Ethan's sleeve. "Daddy," she whispered. He looks lonely. "Can we help her?" Ethan watched Mia walk toward the door. Her shoulder slumped against the cold wind outside. He didn't know why, but he couldn't let her go. Mia, he called out. She turned surprised. Come back tomorrow, Ethan said. Same table. You can't let my daughter beat you at coloring twice in a row. And first time, Mia laughed. But Ethan didn't know then that one small decision would change all of their lives forever. The next morning, she came back in the morning after that, and soon what began as quiet coffee and coloring books turned into something far deeper. Maya would tell stories, funny little anecdotes from her old job, memories of her late father teaching her how to play guitar, and dreams she thought she'd buried long ago. Ethan would listen. Really listen. And the very time she laughed, he felt something inside him thaw. Lily adored her. She would save Mia a seat beside her, draw her pictures, and even hold her hand when Mia's hands wouldn't stop shaking from the cold. But not everyone approved. One evening, as Ethan was locking up his house after dropping Mia off at a woman's shelter he'd helped her find, his sister called. Ethan, Claire said, you have a big heart, but you don't know this woman. You have a daughter to think about. Ethan sighed. I know, but Mia is not what you think. She's kind. And Lily loves her. Claire's voice softened. And what about you? Ethan didn't answer. But deep down he already knew. Weeks passed and Mia began to change. With Ethan's help, she found a part-time job. Her cheeks grew rosier. She laughed more. And when Christmas came, she was sitting at their table wearing a borrowed sweater of Claire's, carving the turkey like she belonged there. That night, after Lily went to bed, Maya stood by the window, staring at the snow. I don't deserve this, she whispered. Ethan walked over, standing beside her. You deserve more than this. You just forgot for a while. She looked up at him, her eyes wet. Why are you helping me? Ethan's voice was quiet but steady. Because someone once helped me after my wife died. I didn't think I'd make it, but someone reminded me I wasn't alone. Now it's my turn. And then without warning, Mia hugged him.
It wasn't romantic, not yet.
It was the kind of hug two broken people give each other when they realize they don't have to be broken alone. But sometimes that's how love begins. Months later, Ethan would hold her hand in that same cafe where it all started. And when a rude customer once again raised his voice at her, Ethan did in single quotes the citate. He stood towering over the man and said in that same steady voice, touch my wife again and you'll regret it, the cave gasped. Mia froze. Your wife? The man stammered. Ethan looked down at her, smiled, and this time she nodded, tears in her eyes. Yes, Ethan said, his arm around her. My wife. And this time it wasn't Allie. And that, my friends, is how a single act of kindness turned into a family. If you believe love can come when you least expected, like this video and subscribe to Love Real because the next story might be the one that changed your heart.